I'll just get to it this way. I'll get to it via Afghanistan, as it were. One of the things I always said about that was interesting about this public discussion and public debate before the Afghan conflict was that interesting thing in which people started saying that thing about, well, the CIA, or we made the Taliban, and all that. Again, putting aside at the moment the sort of details of that and the possible factual inaccuracy of it. It was interesting that, because during that period, that sort of month, and between 9/11 and war in Afghanistan, and for the months afterwards, the number of people who talked about that always sort of baffled me, and I always tried to work out why it was quite so irritating. And I realized that it was both morally and sort of historically a sort of acrobatic trick. I mean, if you said that at a dinner party, you could look like you cared about this, and you could also look like you'd been following Afghan politics for the last few decades. And most people didn't. But it had all of the aura of knowledge without any of the actual basis. And a lot of people with the issue of Israel and the Palestinians do the same thing. I mean, some people are wicked about it, some people are wrong and misguided, I believe, and can be argued out of it or not. But a lot of people just say it because they're lazy. Because if you say the problem is Israel-Palestine, or if we just give this to the Palestinians, that'll be the solution, you can pretend that, you know, that's it, that you know all about it, and that's the only thing. It's very easy. It's simple. If only the world were that simple. But there's also in it, I think, the stalling tactic, the people who say, let's first of all sort out the Israeli-Palestinian issue before we go into Iraq, or let's sort out Israel-Palestine before we go into Afghanistan. I mean, I think, I don't sound too pessimistic about it, but I do think that saying we'll wait till there's peace in Israel-Palestine is like saying we'll wait till the seas run dry. It's saying we'll wait a hell of a long time, at any rate. And so a lot of that has, again, the desire to stop us from acting. I don't buy the anti-Semitic line about a lot of people's objection to Israel. I simply think that ignorance is amazingly prevalent on this question. It is extremely hard, particularly for people of my generation, to understand the ins and outs of the Israeli-Palestinian issue. But if you have been born in the 1970s, let's say, and when you've been growing up, have always seen the issues of suffering Palestinians, whose suffering cannot be denied, the likelihood that you will get on their side, in the same way that you'd get on the side of, say, the starving in Africa or something, as another of your moral hobby horses, is quite large. So in a large number of cases, I don't think it's wickedness that leads people to that particular excuse. I just think it's laziness and not really knowing the facts. It's very interesting speaking to people and saying, when they say, well, the occupied West Bank or something, and you say, well, do you know who occupied it before? Or did that bother you? Would that have bothered you? And so that Israel-Palestine, at the root of it, is one of their biggest lies. The other lie, if I may just touch on it quickly, the one about, you know, we must find out what their grievances are, and poverty and all these things. I would stress, just simply because I always have to stress this, that, I mean, an end must be brought to this idiocy, that you are more likely to become a suicide bomber if you're rich, and you're more likely to become a suicide bomber if you've gone to university, as far as I can see. In Britain, it was, you know, and not to mention Mohammed Atta and co, Omar Sheikh and all these people. We have a cell on trial at the moment in London from a certain university plotting to blow up nightclubs in London. We've had constant cells recruitment on campuses. A lot of these people are very rich, they're very privileged, they're well educated, they're not ignorant, they're not living in slums or anything else. If you see the school that Omar Sheikh went to, and then get the person to say, this is about poverty. And incidentally, just one last one on that. Incidentally, on that one, there's a very interesting program recently revealing, in Britain, that revealed the link between Asif Hanif and Omar Sharif, the two suicide bombers who went out from Britain shamefully in 2003 and blew up Mike's place in Tel Aviv. The link between them and Mohammed Sadiq Khan of the 7th of July bombs. The link that was revealed between the two of them, the program managed to get a person who, an Italian peace activist, who had been in the West Bank with Sharif and Hanif before they went and blew themselves up, apparently in the name of the suffering Palestinians. and they went to see some suffering Palestinians in Ramallah. And this Italian aid worker, this Italian peace activist and aid worker, described how he picked up this Palestinian child and just wept, and that Hanif and Sharif were just looking around. They weren't interested at all. He said he thought at the time it was strange that they didn't seem to care. Now, can somebody then please explain why we keep on hearing this thing that they are doing it for their Palestinian brothers? I don't see it.